Day, but we're going to be talking to the brothers' days. It's a hard hat episode with some high stakes. Get ready because we're going to wake up the inner giant. Here we go. Boom. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, and welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. I'm Ryan Morris, co-creator of Wake Up with Giants TV, a tribe of giants, and 12 Journeys Coaching. And I'm here with Nicholas T. Smith, the author of The Giants and the Smalls, and the other half of the co-creations. Truthfully, it's probably more like a 5 to 95% ratio of the creation. Nick is a content machine and one incredible human being. This is the beautiful book that he created, The Giants and the Smalls. You can find it on Amazon or giantsandsmalls.com. But uh, what a beautiful day! I looked out the window today. The sun was shining. It was
Popcorn was
magical.
popping on an
Popping on the
apricot tree.
yes. Some people will get that reference.
Yeah.
Some won't.
Only in Utah.
That's all the blossoms on the tree. It looks like popcorn. Spring is sprung here in Utah. It's looking good. It's a little chilly, but seems like it's going to be a fantastic day. Down at the bottom, you can see our 12 Journeys coaching scrolling across. This is an amazing place with a great amount of content. All our content is getting put into my 12 Journeys, and you can go and learn the 12 Journeys. We put together so many amazing things that can be done where you can go at your pace. You can figure out where you're at in your journey and dive in deep and be able to know what to do to grow into a giant. And the truth is, you're already a giant. We help you rediscover that and support you where you can. So hop in there. A Tribe of Giants on Facebook is a community that we built where you can go and talk to other giants. They're there to buoy you up and to give you some great positive messages and feedback, and you can make a lot of great friends there.
Just over 4,000 members globally. Powerful community, right? So thousands impacted by this show and what we're up to. So it's not a small deal. And Mr. Ryan Morris, co-author of The Journey to Riches. You need to go get that on Amazon.
Apparently it went international bestseller in 3 countries. So that's good. The US, awesome. I don't know, Great Britain and somewhere else. I can't remember now.
International best-selling author Ryan Morris with us. So
Australia too.
Yeah.
Went international bestseller down under.
Down under. That's awesome, man. Yeah. I think the big thing with the 12 Journeys is that becoming a giant is not about accomplishments. It's about you. It's about your inner journey. And that's what we try and highlight in these shows. We've got an incredible guest today that we hope will inspire you to see that there are so many ways to become a giant in the world. And the 12 Journeys gives you a clear description of what that looks like, from the inner journey to the outer world to your legacy. You'll be able to see in your own way how you can make a positive impact in the world. And that's our intention with each of these episodes, is to inspire that. Should we jump into our incredible guest here?
I think we shall.
We shall we? No. Good morning, Giants. Welcome back to Wake Up with Giants TV, where we bring you stories of individuals who are redefining success and pushing the boundaries of what's possible. So today's episode focuses on transformation and the power of self-made success, a theme that resonates deeply in the world of entrepreneurship and beyond. And our guest, Jade Swasey, is not just a construction expert. He's a pioneer who crafted his path from the ground up, overcoming hurdles. Starting without formal qualifications, he launched a construction business, excelling as a framer before advancing to oversee major projects as a superintendent. So his dedication extends beyond the office as he manages a team of over 30, ensuring quality and efficiency on every project. Jade's life is a testament to the belief that with determination and hard work, any barrier can be overcome. So we're excited to have him here to share his journey with us. So please give a warm welcome to Jade Swasey. I'm just imagining all the applause right here.
Yeah.
Thank
Jade,
you.
welcome.
And the crowd goes wild.
And they go wild. Jade, welcome.
Thank you.
So, Jade, I want to lay foundation first for your voice. Can we do that?
Yeah,
And what
absolutely.
happened? Let's lay that as the foundation, and then we'll dive into your story just to give context to the powerful human that you are. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, when I was 25 years old, I was involved in a four-wheeler accident where it was nighttime. I was going up a road and I hit a chain that was hanging low, obviously to stop people from going there, but you can't stop me. So I hit this chain and it flipped the four-wheeler. And when it threw me off, the four-wheeler landed on top of me and the rack on the back of the four-wheeler hit me in the throat. And when it did, it popped my trachea in half, tore my esophagus in half, and it made it so it just wrecked the inside of my throat.
Yeah.
When I pushed the four-wheeler off, and when I got up, I actually had a passenger at the time, and it threw him further up the road. But I got up to run up to see if he was okay, and he says, "Yeah, I'm fine, but you're not." So I must have sounded. I don't remember how I sounded, but it wasn't good.
Yeah.
Anyway, he went back and got help, and when they came back, I remember laying on the ground thinking, "Man, this is one of those I don't know if I'm gonna sleep off." But he went and got some help, and when he come back down to take me to the hospital, I stood up and my whole entire inside of my neck shifted, and all of a sudden I couldn't breathe.
Holy crap.
So I had to grab my trachea and I started pulling it back and forth until I could breathe, until I could line it up
Wow.
to be able to breathe. Well, I was up in a valley that didn't have ambulance service. They had to send an ambulance quite a long ways to come and get me. I was gonna have them just take me down, but as we tried to drive, I kept feeling a shift, and I was like, "What if I don't get a line back up?" So we waited for an ambulance, which took over 2.5 hours.
Holy cow.
By the time I got into the hospital, my lungs were about 3/4 full of blood, and my oxygen stats were so low that I shouldn't even have been coherent. But they took me in and tried to establish an airway because it was about 2:30 in the morning at this point. They tried to establish an airway, and it took him 4 hours. The doctor put a tube down my throat and tried to pump air into me to kind of line things back up. And my neck just expanded, and they couldn't even pump air into me. So this guy's like, "I don't even know how you were breathing. I don't even know how you made it." When your lungs so at 3/4 full of blood, typically people drown. But for some reason, I was able to pull through that.
Holy crap. Yeah.
So yeah, he told me that he'd seen 5 other injuries similar to mine, all within 30 minutes. 3 of them came in deceased, and the other 2 died on the table. So so it paralyzed my vocal cords. They told me I'd never talk again. They told me I would eat through a tube the rest of my life, and I would have a trach the rest of my life. Well, 2 months later, I had the trach out. My voice started squeaking, and I started getting some noise back. So when I went back to the doctor, he scoped my vocal cords and told me, "Hey, they're not working. They're paralyzed. I don't know where this noise is coming from, but whatever it is, just keep it up."
Wow.
So I've been like this now for 25 plus years. Just keep going.
And man, to give context and foundation, I think this lays foundation for everything that's going to follow in this show. We like to dive into first with people is go into their non-conscious beliefs about themselves, their perceptions of themselves, who they thought they were, and they have this awakening moment that really has them aware that there's more potential and possibility in them. And this may have been it, Jade. Maybe you knew before, maybe you had a perception before this event that had you think that you were some type of person, and you really believed that and you lived into it. And then you have this awakening moment that says, no, there's more into me. There's more here that I can give back to the world. And can you talk about that a little bit, like about the perceptions that you had about yourself, even after this accident or prior to it? And what you believed about yourself and who you thought you were and how you woke up from that?
Well, that's gonna be a tough one because it's almost a little opposite of what kind of you led into. Is I always well, let me back up a little bit. When I was younger, I was a pretty confident young man. I guess I didn't think I was any better or worse than anybody else, but I didn't have any specific confidences. But after this accident, it put me in a position that I started doubting myself and started feeling like I wasn't enough, feeling like a failure.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't man enough. Part of the problem is it's funny because with the name Jade, most people associate that with female.
Yeah.
And then with my voice the way it is, as I would receive phone calls from people or people that didn't know me, I would more often than not be referred to as ma'am. And for years and years and years and years, that just plagued me. It put me in a position where my masculinity really was attacked internally. I didn't think I was good enough.
Can we highlight this a little bit? So what I'm hearing is that you went from confidence to insecurity.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So this is I think this is incredibly useful here. So you went from having a life where you were very positive, very confident, very masculine, very kind of what one might call an adrenaline junkie, and felt cocky and confident that you could do anything. And then this accident became almost a humbling experience. And the way I'm going to use that word humbling is teachable, not anything outside of that. And it really impacted your identity. Is that accurate?
Like it's almost like a split personality, really, because like my adrenaline side, my drive to do things never changed.
Okay.
It was my opinion of myself that changed. Like I went from kind of, I think it's kind of a stretch, but it just defines it well. Yeah. I went from kind of class clown to kind of sit in the back guy and don't say nothing. Because anytime I would get in a situation where I had to compete for a voice, I got ran over.
Yeah, yeah.
If that makes sense. So yeah. As far as my confidence in my abilities and the desire to, maybe be aggressive to an adrenaline type stuff, I was still there. But when it came to speaking with people or, the confidence to put myself in front of a situation to take charge, it was really tough, really tough.
Yeah. What do you think was your biggest realization? So in that awakening, we talk in the journeys, the 12 journeys, we talk about the journey of awareness. And most people, when they get into that journey of awareness, so they have this perception of themselves and they get into that journey of awareness, they get into the space of judgment about themselves. And we talk about Lisa Feldman Barrett's work because it's so impactful, that she says that we feel depressed when we feel like we're not measuring up to our own ideals. and we feel anxious when we feel like we're not measuring up to the ideals that we think others have. And I can imagine in your situation where what was part of your identity was taken away, that now you have judgments of yourself over who you think you are in relation to what you think others are thinking about you, right? Is that fairly accurate?
And that
And
is. That
and
is.
how did you navigate that? How did you get through
Well,
that?
honestly, I didn't navigate it for 20 years. I really just kind of step back, and I think there's I so 6 years ago I went through divorce, and I was this is overheating. Yeah. I felt like I was unconfident. I feel like some of my divorce was because of my lack of confidence in myself. Yeah. Like if anybody that knows me knows that I'm as manly as it gets, I guess.
Yeah.
But inside, I didn't feel like that. My ex-wife, she's a great person, but she didn't do very well at making me feel like I was the man of the house.
Mm.
And I didn't recognize that. Yeah. I didn't recognize that until I actually ended up divorced and ended up dating a gal that really, she recognized what.
Oh, it's right there. We'll get it back. I mean, we know what to do with these. Um, Sometimes when technology goes out, we know it's going to be the best show ever. So we'll just acknowledge that.
As I
But
was sitting here too, dude, I
yeah,
woke up this morning with like a, I don't know, cold or something in my throat a little bit, and I couldn't talk.
yep,
And I was like, oh man, how am I going to do this show? Like I'm struggling a little bit to talk. And then I hear that, and I thought of like the judgments that I would have, like not being able to speak or have
yeah,
my voice, and to have your whole. I mean, that's almost, my voice is a big part of my identity of how people recognize who I am.
yeah,
I hear Nick Smith's voice, I know that that's Nick Smith. And if all of a sudden it changed like so dramatically like that, the just the internal turmoil that would cause inside of a human being, and the stress and the maybe stress isn't the exact word, but uh, just chaos on the other end, on the physical end of like all your relationships and the people that knew you, and then all of those that don't. And when you go to open your mouth, and truthfully, like when you had told me about it, and then when I heard Jade speak for the first time, it's like a little bit like, I didn't expect that out of that manly man right there, right? It
yeah,
just, because you're so used to how you live day to day, and what you hear from people coming out of their mouth almost associates with how they look physically.
yeah. Well, and I want to anchor this into what we do, with the 12 journeys, um, because this is such a demonstration of it. Is here is something that was your identity, and there's a ton of grief that goes into the loss of something that was your identity. And I'd love for those that are watching, you that are watching, because we see you here, is in the comments, post the thing that you lost that impacted your identity, the thing that hit you so hard that you had to rediscover yourself, or maybe you're right in the middle of it right now. Because grief, when you get into that loss, and it doesn't matter if it's a loss of a person or a loved one or a relationship, that loss is impactful, and it has you bring up judgments, and those judgments take you back to who you think you are, right?
Hmm.
Like, do you find that to be the case for you too, Ryan? That when you have, yeah, so Sunshine says, my husband, um, you have that loss and it's so impactful, and you've got to go back and look at yourself. Have you had moments like that?
For sure. Um, as he was talking about how he didn't do anything for 20 years,
Yeah.
like there's things in my world where I didn't deal with it. I might not have even fully recognized that that's the patterns or the behaviors that I built around the thing that happened in my world until I did recognize it, till there was an awareness of it. And um, then when you do, that doesn't mean that everything's solved once you're aware of the thing. Um, for me, 40, almost 39 years of my life, uh, there was a lot of stuff with abandonment. There was other things where I had learned specific behaviors of how I was being a kid, and I've talked about this before, but I looked at the model of success in a certain way, and then thought that's how I have to be in life to earn love. And because of some of the things that had gone on in my world with abandonment and whatnot, I started patterning my entire life living out of that particular paradigm
Yeah.
until I was made aware that that's how you're living. And it doesn't go back and solve the 39 years before that. That's what I was saying is like it doesn't go back and solve those problems.
Yeah.
Now there's just something to do at that point where I can look and go, okay, it sucks that I lived my whole entire life that
Yeah.
way. Then the grief was heavy. It was a
Yep.
lot. I'm like,
And sometimes it takes you a while to even come out of it, right?
yeah,
So
oh yeah,
for me, it was 10 plus years. Jeff, I got to meet Jeff last night, and hang on to your thoughts. So pull it back in.
oh you're good. You're good.
But Jeff came up and shook my hand. He's got his prosthetic on, and he's got it linked like this, right? And he grabs my hand and just yanks. He's like 150 pounds, bro. It's he's adapted so much, to an adjustment, a loss of something that he's had to adjust to. And now he's working on a book that's getting published. He was a guest on our show. If you get a chance, go check out Jeff's show.
Amazing human being.
But it's that resilience of, man, there's a loss and you're going to go through grief. You can't help it. It's part of the journeys. And the goal isn't to not go through grief. The goal is to navigate that grief, right? Yeah, I thought I was whole until I lost my husband. I realized I was simply a shell. Yeah. Dude, grief impacts everybody differently. And I messaged Jade. We'll see if we can get it back on here. And if not, in the comments, just help us carry the show here with your own experiences, because this is your show. But that identity, that grief, right? And was there an awareness? You start noticing the judgments of yourself. You start noticing where you justify yourself and you stay stuck.
That was the hardest part, is actually it wasn't so much as facing others, because truthfully people just liked me for me. They didn't care that I had the nicest house or the cars or the things.
Right.
They didn't care at all. I was more the one that was judging myself as less than or comparatively or things like that. And so
Yeah.
it didn't matter as much. But um
Yeah.
yeah, it was looking into the mirror and then having those judgments of myself that
Yep.
was the hardest part in that whole thing.
Jade, we know, like, from experience, that when technology fails on us, it's the best show ever. So don't, just as you can get back on. We know you're out in your car doing the show. So we can hear you. We were just leaving off, when you have a loss like this and it impacts, can you hear me all right? We'll see if we get you.
It was struggling a little bit too before with audio
Yeah.
of Jade being able to hear us. So Jade, when you're able to hear us, give us a thumbs up or something. I'll put it.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yep. Hear you perfect.
Okay, we're good.
All right.
Sweet.
So we left off there when you have this impactful event in life, and people are sharing in the comments here, the big things, that there's this loss of something, and whether it's your voice, for Jeff Solberg, it was part of his hand. For Sunshine, it was a loss of a husband. For Hugh, his daughter passed away in an accident. When you have that loss, you're going to go through some grief. And you mentioned it took you 20 years, right? And you lost your confidence and you were insecure, and it impacts. And I would love for you to just take a moment and talk about the grief experience, the loss, the grieving, the heaviness. Can you do that for a minute?
Yeah. It's it's kind of a hard one to explain because on the outside everything looks okay.
Yeah.
Like sure there's you get the people staring at you, you get the people, the the talk in the background, like what's wrong with this guy, whatever. And you just feel like you don't fit. And so you feel like I'm not good enough to actually be here. Like and you think back on when I had all those things, when I had that confidence, when I had that voice. Um, it's really hard for me to actually put into words how it makes me feel or how it
Yeah.
made me feel. I still actually struggle with it once
Does
in a
it
while.
does it create deep sadness in you? And from the deep sadness, my understanding of anger is that it's a facet of that, of sadness, that people get angry as an expression of the deep hurt that they're feeling.
Right, and I would call it more of a frustration than a sadness.
Okay. Yeah.
It was for me. It was more like say of an anger. Like,
Yeah.
but then the other thing is I turn back and my natural self is I'm more of a grateful person. So I turn back to man, I'm really lucky to be alive. Nobody survives this,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's probably what I drew on the most to keep going was, hey, you're probably one of one that survived something like this. I've never met anyone else um, that survived something like that. There's been a lot of people survive their own things, but as far as something similar to mine,
Mm.
I haven't met anyone. So then you go into this place where you're like, then you beat yourself up for actually feeling bad about it or being angry about it.
Right.
So then you like double stack your anger. So now you're mad because you can't do what you want, and then you're mad that you're mad at yourself.
So, like, isn't it a funny cycle? It's funny when you step back, but it's not funny when you're in it.
Right.
Yeah. But it's like we're mad at ourselves. We're mad because of the situation. And then we're mad at ourselves for being mad at ourselves. So then we get stuck in this rumination and negative reflection of our situation and assessment. And
That's what I
then,
was telling you, Nick. That was what I
yeah,
was saying is I become aware, and then the hardest thing was now I was pissed because I lived my whole entire life that certain way, and nobody else cared really.
yeah,
We see the difference is that, like Jade, your voice comes out, so then people like there's that physical like interaction with somebody, and so their eyes kind of probably go like that just a little bit. They're like, "Whoa, I didn't expect that." For when I was going through my stuff, it's all internal, so nobody knows that all of this shit is going on inside my judgments, my fears, my worries, my doubts, my view of the world, my frustrations. We're just trying to relate them, like what you went through physically with your throat, the grief, the whole new lifestyle that you've had to do, not dealing with it for 20 years while you were off, camera, we were trying to get your technology back. That's what we were talking about. And so for me, it was all of that you just talked about, except for you have to like now physically people can see that something is different. For us, like for me anyway, nobody freaking knew how much turmoil and how much grief and how much judgment and how much just messed up thinking was up in here, in my world. So I'm just wanted to give people context. You could take what Jade is saying. He went through, I mean, it's now an internal mess and an external, and some people might have gone through the external as well. But if you haven't, there's some context. It's a lot of times it's all going on inside of here, and other people don't even know or have a clue what's happening inside your inner world. Jade, they probably still didn't have an exact clue of what was going on in your inner world, but they could hear as soon as they could hear you, they knew something was happened in your life, right?
Right.
That's
Well, it's funny,
anyway.
one of my favorite things about it, honestly, is like I'll be sitting at a restaurant with my guys at work or whatever, and sitting behind me, and this always happens. The funniest thing is somebody with a kid that's probably always under 7 years old will be sitting behind me, and I'll start talking, and you'll hear that kid go, "Hey, why does that guy sound funny?" And sometimes, and this is my favorite, the kid will actually turn around and look over at me and be like, "How come you sound weird?"
Hmm.
And I'm like, "Well, let me tell you why you sound weird." And I tell him the story, and the look on mom's face is mortified.
Wow.
Like, she's just like, "Oh," but what they don't understand is if everyone handled your situation the way that kid does, just
Yeah.
be upfront, be brutal about it, just be like, "Hey, what's going on?"
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
funniest part
Right.
about it is when I explain to him, I'm like, "This is what happened, but I'm lucky I'm talking." Then the kid's like, "Oh, okay." And he puts it goes away.
Like immediate acceptance of it,
An
right?
immediate acceptance. And then the mom's always, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I apologize. My kid shouldn't do." No, it's exactly what you should do.
Yeah.
It's like you should take a page out of that book. It's like if you see someone
Good.
that's got something that you can see going on wrong, instead of looking at them and trying not to look at them, the best thing to do is just to walk up to them and say, "Tell me your story."
Hmm.
Man.
You know
That.
what I mean? And I guess like this is one of the biggest strengths that I've gained from this challenge is I have learned to look at people and see what they're struggling with and ask them, "Hey, why are you struggling today?" And not even physical. Like, I think what I was telling you when I cut out is this gal I met that made me accept who I was and basically gave me my roar back as a lion, as the king of the jungle. She she made me be a man, step it up. Like, I'll give you just a quick example. Like, anytime I would try to call somewhere to make a reservation, people didn't understand me and it was frustrating. So my ex-wife would always do that for me. Well, with this new gal, um, she wouldn't let me. She's like, "No, you're the man. You make the call." And I was like, "Wow, okay, I have to step up."
Hmm.
And um, kind of just a side bit to kind of get you to know where I'm at is I was to be engaged to this gal, and she committed suicide.
Hmm.
She was struggling with her divorce at the time, and she decided to leave us. Um, that's the second part of my trauma that kind of woke me up. Is it created a situation where I realized how fragile, how short life is. Um, Fortunately for me, the last thing I said to her when I walked out her door that night was, "I love you." A
Hmm.
lot of people don't get that. A lot of people don't get that closure. Um, I know it wasn't me. I know she had inner struggles. But it made me really recognize and have compassion for people that are struggling that you don't probably typically see.
Hmm.
Um, I still not, if you see me in a crowd, I still don't come out and try to dominate a conversation.
Hmm.
I'll hold back. If someone's interested in what I have to say, they'll come to me.
Yeah.
But it allows me a place where I get to sit back and watch a lot. I get to see people's interactions and people that are struggling internally. In those situations, you can pick it out immediately.
Hmm.
And I try to go up to those people and say, "Tell me your story. what's going on in your head? Like, tell me a little bit about yourself. So
Jade, I hear
that's kind of what I've learned through this and what I try.
I hear this, somebody's coming along as a metaphor or analogy, is they're coming along and they've got this burden on their back, right? And you go up to them and you grab the burden, you take it off, and you say, what's this? What's going on? And there's that relief, right? That lifting. And now you didn't carry the burden for them, but you just took it off for a minute and said, why are you carrying this? What's going on here? And to us in the journey of acceptance, it's all about that is acknowledging your life as it is, but also that gives space for you to help others acknowledge their life as it is. Like, what's going on? Because you still have the inner struggle. It's not like it went away. And I think people think that, oh, I should know better by now. I shouldn't have this anymore. And what you're saying is, no, it's definitely going to be part of your life. There's some adjustment to be made, but to create some relief and some release, come ask me about it. Talk to me about my struggles and that's the compassion and empathy part. And I think that's vital for acceptance. And you go a step further than that. You move into gratitude. And that's one of our journeys as well, as the journey of gratitude. And I want to talk about your view on gratitude and why do you carry that as one of your values?
Like I say, with that, I've always been kind of a grateful person, but after going through the loss of someone I loved a lot, I told myself I would never let anyone that I cared about or noticed that was struggling move on without knowing someone cared. I've noticed, like, in business. So we were talking the other day, you and I, about how I run business. I found out really quickly when I was training guys to frame for me, that attacking their downfalls never really got me anywhere. But when you built them up and focused on their strengths, they excelled. And I guess almost in that aspect, from a greedy perspective, I wanted my jobs to go smooth. I wanted to be able to make more money. If you can make your team better, it makes you better. And I discovered it just doesn't. You get there's always going to be an odd situation, but 99% of the time, people don't get praise or gratitude. We're very quick as a society to point out the mistakes, to say, hey, I don't like this, or you're offending me, or whatever. But it's pretty rare to have someone that comes up and says, hey, I just noticed that thing that you just did. You did a great job. Like, you killed it today. You guys are doing a great job. And I carried that over into my framing, which it took me a lot of years to actually recognize that. But as I pulled away from framing and went into superintendent work, that's only been the past 3 years. It's funny. One day I was having these foundations done, and I had to put foam around the outside. And the crew that came and did it, first building was terrible. And I was like, okay, you guys need to step this up. You need to fix this. So the second building, they came and kind of the same thing. Third building, I actually went out with them and I said, this is what I expect. So this is what I'm looking for. And just showed them. Well, the fourth time they came on the fourth building, they did it perfectly. Did a great job. So I actually picked up the phone and I called their boss and I said, hey, and he expected me to call complaining because that's what it was the last 3 times. I called him and I said, hey, I just wanted to tell you your guys nailed it this time. They did a great job. And the guy about fell out of his chair. He's like, you mean to tell me you called just to tell me they did a good job? And I'm like, yep. And he's like, wow, 20 years I've never had that.
Wow.
I would imagine that's not something that's like, I think of framers, right? I think of like their personality. I worked as a hod tender for brick masons. You don't go put your arm around the brick mason, be like, buddy, you did such a great job on that wall today. They're not, they don't, they don't, they built up this pretty raw exterior, they're not lovey and praiseworthy type. They're like, man, I did a good job on that wall today. But, they'll spit, they'll do it themselves kind of, but
You know,
it's
you
not
say
that way,
that.
right? In the construction world, it's not a normal, right?
Yeah, but you say that, but I'll tell you what. I've put my arm around so many guys on my job site and just said, hey, you did a good job. And the thing is the power of human touch. Like, I can honestly say I love all the people I work with, like almost on a personal basis. Even some I don't like. There's so many subcontractors on my job site that I can't possibly get to know all the individuals. But I always try to take a chance, once or twice a week to walk up to somebody that I don't know. And unfortunately, I'm terrible at remembering names, but just to say to them, hey, I was watching what you're doing here and you're doing a great job.
Yeah. And that I imagine most people are probably starving for some of that type of stuff.
Absolutely.
The hand on the shoulder, the hug, the high five, the great job. It's the physical and the giving of the praise. We don't recognize sometimes that's what people need so much of these days.
Yeah,
So that's
Ryan.
awesome.
Ryan, hang on the screen here.
Oh.
Don't bump yourself out for a minute because and Jade, you chime in on this as well. But Andrew Huberman, top neuroscientist, talks about gratitude, and we often think that gratitude, the serotonin and dopamine that are released from that, is from expressing it. Right? We think, oh, if I journal this, I'm going to feel good. But research shows again and again that gratitude is from receiving the gratitude, or observing in others their experience of gratitude releases dopamine and serotonin. And so essentially what you're doing is you're going around with this needle, so to speak, and giving them a shot in the arm of dopamine and serotonin. And your expression of gratitude isn't for you, it's for them. Right. And Ryan, I see you do this with people where you put them up and you acknowledge them and express gratitude to them in ways, and it's not about you. But I see what it does for them, and I'm like, holy shit, that's what it's about. And Jade, that's what you're doing. And I'd love for you two to just banter here a little bit about that. The power of expression and acknowledgement of others. And can we go back and forth on that a little bit? Brian, do you have some thoughts there first? And then Jade, I'll pull you on.
Yeah, and I appreciate you, Nick, for acknowledging me in that. I think that you said it's not for me, it's for them, but I think sometimes too, like that the opposite of me expressing that and them seeing them, how they are, and them seeing it for themselves as I'm saying it. It does do stuff for me too. So there is a little bit of
Well,
selfishness in that,
that's the witnessing, right? Because when you witness it in
Yeah.
others, there's a release for you. So
Yeah.
that is accurate.
Yeah, I would say that is very accurate, and it's something that hasn't, for me anyway, and that's my personality is that I do that. It comes more naturally to me. I recognize for some people it does not. Like that
Right.
does not come as natural. But as you do it, as you start practicing those things, it's interesting to see what happens with relationships, with that connection that forms from doing those things. I would imagine in your world, Jade, as you're doing those, as you're going up and giving the high fives and the hugs and the attaboys to others, even people that you don't know their name, what happens is that in turn they turn around and they become your friend. They become somebody that they're like, man, that guy's awesome. That guy lifted me up. You didn't have to do that. Nobody else has done that. 20 years, nobody's made that phone call like that. And in the construction business, it's probably more of an oddity. So anyway,
Yeah,
I
so
just wanted to give you my acknowledgement too of that, because that's pretty amazing that you're doing that for other
well, it's
people.
funny because that's something that wasn't a natural thing for me growing up.
Mm.
I came from a spot, especially between man to man. My dad was a firefighter, and he was a man's man. Uh, I don't remember growing up my dad telling me I love you. I knew he did, but he never said the words. And I never used to say the words. And um, I I started a little bit prior to my loss of that gal, but after that, it really, like, you don't know when the last time you're gonna be able to tell someone that. And carrying that through into my work site. Um,
Mm.
you know, especially in construction, you work with a class of people that, in a lot of cases, are coming from really hard circumstances and struggles,
People,
and they
people
don't
that
get
could
that.
use a hug, right?
Yeah, and so I mean, it's sad when you come to the construction site and that's the place you feel the most peace.
Hmm.
I'm grateful they have that, but it's unfortunate in our society that that's the case. But I want to breed that um that feeling in my job sites. And so, you know, the interesting thing is, and I don't do it for this reason, but one of the byproducts of being that way is it does not matter when I'm out on the job site what problem I get myself into. Any one of those guys will jump in and help me out.
Mm.
If I'm behind the eight ball on something and I ask a favor, they jump. It's like, what can we do to help you out?
Mm.
Um, Another thing that I like to tell all my people is I never have any problems. I always have opportunities. So when someone comes into me, we have a problem, I'm like, we have an opportunity. What do we got to do? And it changes the mindset to where people are looking at it as this is a problem, this is a challenge, you look at it as this is a chance to be creative, this is a chance to think outside the box.
Mm. Man, it's like you're teaching our framework here. It's like it's innate in you to look at the unknown and the uncertainty where people might say, oh, there's a challenge and problem here is to dive in and say, no, there's opportunity and possibility. That for us is the journey of uncertainty, is just seeing, no, everything's possible. What can we do with this? And doing that from the view that you do, which is to empower yourself through gratitude and acknowledgement, is to elevate yourself to a level where you do see opportunities. Because if you're in ingratitude, you don't see opportunities, you see challenges and problems. So gratitude elevates you to that state where you can actually see positivity. And to go through what you've been through, somebody might say, what do you have to be grateful for? That sucks, what you're going through. And you're like, no, man, this is the best thing that's ever happened. Right?
Well, to the point, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's been plenty of times I'm like, this sucks. But it's like, you know what, sign me up. This
Yeah,
might be the
yeah.
suckiest suck that it ever sucked, but give me some more.
Suckiest suck that ever sucked.
So the thrill of it, in business or life is like, let's embrace this suck and just go for it, man, because there's opportunity here.
Some of it you
Exactly.
can't change. Some of it you can't change. You're probably not changing this. I mean, maybe something magical and miraculous comes back and just starts reforming and recreating. Is that possible? Yeah, maybe. But is it probable? Probably not. So, but the things you can change, you can change. The things you can't change, It could be the suckiest of the suck. I freaking love that. Now what do you do? What do you
Well, I
do
mean,
from that point, right?
a prime example is my voice. Like, I can't do anything about it. It is what it is. I'm grateful I have it, but it sucks.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's no other way to put it. It sucks.
It's not
But what it
ideal, right?
does is it really gives me individuality. Like,
Mm.
if I call anybody on the phone, they're not like, I wonder who this is. You know? And I've had a lot of really close friends that didn't know me before, that are like, I wouldn't have you any other way. Like,
What, Jade,
your
like
voice is you.
the other day you messaged me and you're like, hey, can we talk about something? And you know, when I get that message and some of you can relate, you're like, oh shit, I wonder what I did, right? Like the guy, the construction, he's like, okay, I'm bracing myself for what's coming. And you did exactly what you did for that guy. You did that for me. You called me and you said, hey man, I just want to acknowledge you. I want you to know I love you. You express gratitude. You have no idea.
Hmm.
It hits, you know, like that elevated me that day. I was on cloud 9 that day. And so like when I hear Jade's voice on the phone, it's like, oh shit, here comes the good stuff. Right? Here
Right?
comes the good stuff. Not here comes the negative. Like you live what you're talking about here. I'm grateful. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm grateful for you too.
Like that's the power of gratitude right there. Is this isn't changing. For some of you that are watching, whatever happened, Sunshine's husband's not coming back. You know, Hugh's daughter's not coming back. You know, Ryan's childhood is not coming back. And so it's this adaptation to what is, you know, the quote by Charles Darwin, it's not the survival of the fittest or the most intelligent, it's the survival of the most adaptable to change. And here you are adapting to it and demonstrating, like, I don't give a shit how hard it is. It doesn't make the situation less hard, but you are powerful. That's what you're showing people.
Right? Yeah, and I do have to say, you know, I struggle with being single, trying to meet people. I just kind of want to add this is because what I called you about was something you'd put on a post you'd put about accepting people and looking a little deeper, not being so, you know, surface. I can say I, you know, with the passing of that gal, she gave me the inspiration to look for what I wanted, to not settle, to not just, you know, take what the first thing that's given to you and accept it. Like, you can't do that. If you know what you want, hold out for it. But if you're gonna hold out for it, you also need to learn that not every box is gonna get checked. You have to be pliable. I about 2 years ago on my job site met this amazing woman, and we became friends because she wasn't available, but I liked working with her. And I always felt comfortable in her energy. And it was funny, we would walk the site to check units and fix problems. And I looked at her one day, I'm like, man, do you have like a single sister or a friend, someone that thinks and feels like you do,
You're
that you can
Siamese
set me
twin,
up
you're
with? Because, like,
identical.
that's what I'm looking for. You know, and she just kind of laughed it off. And no, little did I know, she was in the process of a divorce.
Huh.
And I found out months and months later, she actually divulged that to me. And, you know, I just said to her, you know, the single scene is super hard to navigate. It's awkward. You're jumping into something that is so 20 years ago kind of a thing. And I said, when you get things, settled down and you're split up and it's a done deal, let's hang out. Let me take you and kind of show you the ropes. Well, when they finally split, she she came up to me and she's like, "Hey, I'm ready for that date now."
Huh.
Mind blown, right? Because here I was thinking I was just gonna introduce her to the singles thing, but she called it a day. So
There's
4th
no
of
going
July
back.
last year, I took her on a date, and she's exactly what I've been looking for. We're
Yeah.
engaged now, so
And you guys are beautiful together.
it's
The photo
amazing.
that you got, I don't know how you snapped that. Andy and I were talking about that this morning. The Northern Lights with you two in the foreground is absolutely beautiful. And what my experience of you is that image is a reflection of who you two are together. She is so supportive and loving of you, and I don't know much about her. And but man, I know that if she's with Jade, she's phenomenal.
She's an incredible person. She's super shy, super quiet.
Yeah.
But like, there are, like I said, there's a couple boxes that she didn't check for me, but there's so many that she did, and
Yeah.
so many things that I didn't even know I wanted that she has.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, it's like you
Beautiful.
said, it's like if I would have looked at her and said, yeah, she doesn't check a couple of these boxes for me, and passed on, what would I have missed? I mean, it's just incredible, and I love the relationship I have with her.
Sometimes it doesn't look like what you thought, right?
I,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sometimes sit there and question myself, like, how in the hell did I pull that off?
Huh.
But it's like, I don't know. It seems like as men we always tend to couple up, not down.
Yeah.
I don't know how any woman puts up with us guys, but I'm grateful they
Come on, we're awesome. What are you talking about, dude?
do. We are, but you have to kind of put in a plug for the Mother's Day.
Yeah.
I think my mom might be watching, so I want to tell her Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah, beautiful.
Happy Mother's Day to my bride to be. And my kids when I got divorced were older, so I don't have much communication, if any, with my ex. But she's a good person, and
Yeah.
I doubt she'll ever hear it. But I wish her Happy Mother's Day too.
That acknowledgement right there, Jade, is powerful. I acknowledge, the moms in my life. My mom passed away about 9 years ago. We weren't very close, but I can acknowledge the power that she did have, the positive that she did have. And I look at, Andrea, and then Ryan, you've got Amber in your world, and I won't steal your thunder of acknowledgement, but uh, just acknowledging the moms. The mom that Andrea is to her daughters is just amazing. The mom that my ex is to my kids, she's an amazing mom to my kids. I'm so grateful for that. That I, as much as I raise my kids, she's over there doing her part too. And I'm so grateful that we can come together around our kids and not have the battles that I hear so many people have. I'm grateful for that. So Ryan, I want to leave some room for you there if you want to do anything around that.
I'm with Jade. I
Steal
don't
your
know how
thunder.
the hell like any woman would put up with me, you know. But I'm grateful that Amber puts up with my crazy ass because I don't know. Like some days I'm sure she's like, what in the world? I don't know if anything surprises her anymore. So but she's an incredible mom to my kids as well. And they I remember just quick, one of
Yeah.
my daughters was in a class, it was like a social class, and the teacher was asking the kids about like their parents and their parenting, and the kids are like talking about how they get grounded for doing this and that and this and that and things like Anna, my oldest, says, "I've never been grounded." And they're like, "Are you serious? Like you're that perfect?" And she's like, "No, I've make all kinds of mistakes." but my parents trust me, and we talk
Yeah.
about the mistakes. We work through them. It's not a shame or a guilt, or like it's a, hey, this is the consequences of your actions, and there's things that happen. She's like, they've never grounded me. I have never been grounded in my life.
Mm.
And then I'm not saying that that doesn't work for other kids. I mean, maybe some people need that, but it was a testament. She said, my mom and my dad are they're my best friends. Like, uh, and so
Mm.
anyway, I get a little bit of part in that, but truthfully, it's Amber
Mm.
that does that. And then I have two moms because I was adopted, and so I have my mom Lisa and my mom Jane that are some of the. I think that heaven needed, like, knew I needed two moms because freaking I'm crazy, most days. But I get to be loved by two moms, and grateful for them in my world. So anyway,
That's
there's
beautiful.
my Mother's Day acknowledgement.
Jade, I am inspired by you. I feel like this isn't a strategy with you. What you are sharing here is who you are at your core, and I experience that from you. It's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on here on the show is so people can get to know you even more because you are an inspiration. Um, I'm curious if there was anything that you would want the person on the other side of this screen to know. Here's one of my mentors here, Steve Hardison, the inspiration. Yeah,
Don't worry, Steve. It's cleared up nicely. We're good.
he's always got to throw that in there. But the gratitude that you express is there are people like this who come into our lives that just make an impact. And I would wonder, going back to the idea of what you would want to say to the person on the other side of the screen, maybe something that you wish we would have asked during the episode, something that you would like to share that you want them to know about themselves. What would that be?
Um, if there was one thing that I could convince anybody or everyone of, it's that you matter, that you're
Mm.
important, that that someone loves you. Not everybody loves you, not everybody likes you, but someone does.
Hmm.
And not everyone needs to. You don't need to have that love and attention from everyone. But I guarantee you that there is someone that does.
Hmm.
And so many times people think, nobody cares about me. And I think I've seen a lot of people struggle, especially going through the single scene. Um, I just want people to know, there's a lot of people I see, and I didn't reach out to everyone. It's impossible to touch everybody's life. And if you've seen me in events or out in places, and I haven't met you or got to know you, feel free to come up and get to know me. Like it's a two-way street.
Hmm.
I love to get to meet people. I love to hear their stories.
I love that. Ryan, final thoughts from you on this?
Yeah. Just one of the biggest ones is well, you've given me a lot of new perspective. Um, Steve Hardison is the giant in the book, The Giants and the Smalls, and he puts Nick, who is the small, feeling small at that moment, on his shoulder and stands up and gives him a new perspective. It's a beautiful imagery. And anytime that happens in my world, and Nick might be able to find that picture, but the imagery is insert giant Jade into that picture of putting us on his shoulder and standing up. The way that you view the world, um, that we all have an opportunity. Dot dot dot. Anytime a challenge, anytime something comes up, what we deem a problem, an issue, anything, we have an opportunity to. Dot dot dot. Um, and then the other one was for me was the acceptance of a 7-year-old kid. Sometimes that might be our 7-year-old kid that's inside of us, uh, accepting us for who we are, how we are, how we've lived our life. Um, Other times it's an external where they hear our voice and it sounds different than the normal. And whew. Everyone knows that I'm a big crybaby, Jade. So this isn't a new thing, but the feelings and the emotion and the it's a real thing.
Mm.
Um, you've impacted us today. You've given us a new perspective on life, and I just want everyone at home too to know that like you can see and you can hear what Jade's been through. We might not know exactly what you're going through, but Jade talking about that you matter to somebody, you matter to us, and there's giants like us that will take the time to slow down and listen and put our arm around you and tell you we love you. We might not even know who the heck you are, but we love you too. Yet if you need it, just reach out, let us know. We'll figure it out. We'll talk to you and we'll help you through whatever situation you're going through in your world and help give you some perspective because that was done for us. And so thanks, Jade, for doing that and continuing that on. And we hope this isn't the last we see of you because we want to give you a hug in person and tell you we love you and continue to help other people in their journey. So thank you for being on our show today. It was beautiful.
I appreciate it. I love you guys too.
Yeah, thank you. For those that are watching, this is a sampling of hundreds of interviews that we've done. Like Jade, powerful. If you go to Wake Up with Giants TV on YouTube, subscribe, share this video. This video will be up there today. Go grab the link and share it with somebody and tell them why they should watch it. Tell them you love them, express gratitude for them, and share this link with them and have it be a demonstration of what's possible for them. Maybe they need that lifting. You didn't know how much they needed it, but your acknowledgement, your appreciation, your gratitude is the very thing that keeps them here, keeps them going, has them take one more step. So do that. Come join us. Come be in the tribe of giants. We have 4,200 members of people just like Jade that are out there trying to make a positive ripple in the world, all over the world. You know, we're speaking in the UK on the 25th of May of this month in 2 weeks. And if you haven't got your ticket to join us there, go grab your ticket to be there because that will be the most powerful, impactful movement that you've ever experienced, with 17 speakers from around the world coming to just teach you about how powerful you are. And so make sure you grab your ticket and join us there in the UK at the Being event. You can go to tu-b-24.com and grab your tickets there. And
My passport came in, so I'll be there.
Yeah, awesome. And we are looking forward to bring the Giants to the UK. You know, we were able to donate 200 books to the Children's Hospital out there, and we're on a mission to impact people all around the world to step into their giantness, just like Jade's doing. And it doesn't look like accomplishments. Being a giant isn't about accomplishments. It's about who you are, and it's about your unique footprint and fingerprint that you bring to this world that nobody else can bring. And Jade, you've been a demonstration of that today. So thank you. So for those that are watching, remember, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. There's the X stone that we talk about. You're right on time. You're doing what you need to be doing. Keep stepping. Come join us. Reach out to us if you need some support. If you want to learn more about our programs, ask us, because they are powerful and they will change your life. And so we love you. Go make it a giant day, and we will see you in the next episode.
Love you too.